She found out her fiancé was cheating with her best friend. But instead of leaving, she planned a wedding. The apartment was quiet. The soft hum of traffic drifted in, the stillness inside broken only by the chirp of a phone notification and the gentle tap of her pen. Alex sat cross-legged on the couch, her laptop open beside her. A mess of highlighters, note cards and wedding magazines spread across the coffee table. Her tea had gone cold hours ago. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the floor. She reached for Derek's old tablet, the one she'd found in a long-forgotten cabinet, while hers was being repaired. She just needed to open a file she'd emailed herself while her computer updated for the third time that evening. The screen lit up. Still remembered their Wi-Fi, still logged into everything. A few calendar alerts, news headlines, social pings. She scanned past them out of habit. Then a name appeared. Samantha. Alex blinked. Her best friend. Her maid of honour. She hadn't talked to her since yesterday. The message preview flashed across the lock screen. Last night was incredible. Her heart dropped. She tapped the notification without hesitation, and the thread exploded open with message after message going back months. Her chest tightened. Inside jokes, hotel room numbers, photos, voice memos. She sat still for a long time, the tablet glowing in the silence, like an open wound. The anger came slowly, like water heating in a kettle. No tears, just the creeping realization she had been played as a fool. She glanced down at the screen again, a message catching her eye. A message from Derek. She has no idea what's coming. Once the wedding's done and the company's in our name, we're golden. She builds it, you front it, we take everything. Alex stopped breathing. Her eyes retraced the words again and again, as if they'd change. The business, her business, the one she'd spent 2 years designing, tools for independent artists to create and sell their work. She was supposed to launch next year. She was the founder, the face, the entire brand. And now they were planning to erase her. That night, Derek's quiet voice drifted through the crack of the office door. Alex stood in the hallway, hidden in the shadows, heart pounding. It's all set up. Once we're married, it's joint property. She has no prenup. She won't fight it. She's too trusting. That's what makes it easy. Alex backed away. She closed the bedroom door carefully behind her, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared into the dark. She had trusted him. She had trusted both of them, and now they were carving her out of her own future. The weight of it pressed down on her chest, but she didn't break, not that night. Instead, she went still. And when the stillness passed, only one thing remained. Purpose. In the following days, Alex perfected the art of pretending. She still kissed Derek goodbye and continued to ask Sam for wedding advice. But in the quiet moments alone, she was laying the groundwork for her next move. She researched everything she could on marital asset laws, financial protections, and prenuptial agreement loopholes. Quietly, off the books, she met with a family lawyer. She opened a new bank account and gradually transferred her savings into it. But she needed leverage, a thread Derek couldn't control. That's when she thought of Ryan Collins, Derek's estranged brother, the one name he continuously spat out with bitterness. Someone he couldn't manipulate, someone who might hate him even more than she did. That night she couldn't sleep. She grabbed her laptop and silently crept to the kitchen while Derek slept. She went to his mother's Facebook account and clicked through profiles until she found the right one. Tattoos, grease-stained hands in an old family photo. Her heart pounded. She sent a message. "Hi, my name is Alexandra Richards. You don't know me, but I'm engaged to Derek. I think we should talk. She didn't expect a reply, but by the next afternoon her phone buzzed. Meet me at the back of Red's Auto on 7th, 10 p.m. tonight. She arrived just after dark. The garage was closed, but a side door creaked open. Ryan stood there, wiping his hands on a rag, a layer of oil on his forearms, his expression unreadable. You really gonna marry him? He asked. Not if I can help it, Alex said. His brow twitched. He stepped back and let her in. The space smelled like old grease and concrete. Tools lined the walls in rows. Everything had its place. Over the next couple of hours, she told him everything. The tablet, the texts, the betrayal. Ryan leaned back against a workbench, arms crossed, jaw tight. He didn't speak for a long time. Then, finally, he did it to me too, but worse. Alex looked up, tension tightening her brow. What do you mean? She said, eyes narrowing. He didn't just sleep with her. He got inside her head. He paused for a long time. The look on his face was almost haunted. I was starting my own shop. My girl was in it with me. Smart, organised, handled the business end. We were partners in every sense. I noticed Derek started coming around more, said he wanted to help, said he believed in us. Alex's stomach tightened. He got close to her, closer than I realised. Told her I was doing shady deals with dangerous people, that I was going to drag her down with me, only I wasn't. He looked down, his voice got quieter. Derek was the one doing the deals. He used my name, my face. Then one day I came home and everything was gone. She'd signed the lease into her name, emptied the accounts, took the tools, the clients, everything. Alex stared at the oil-stained table, jaw clenched so tight she thought her teeth might crack. The cops thought I was trying to pull some kind of insurance fraud. She told them I was unstable, that I'd been threatening her. Alex looked up sharply. You went to jail? He let out a bitter laugh. 18 months. Plea deal. I didn't have money for a better lawyer. Derek disappeared the second it got real. When I got out, our mum told me I should forgive him. Said Derek was trying to change, trying to do better. A cold smile twisted his lips. I saw him later that night, stumbling out of a bar, trashed. He had the nerve to walk up to me and say, "Nothing personal, brother." Alex stared at him, stunned. The man she thought she was going to marry hadn't just lied to her. He'd repeatedly torn people apart without remorse. She looked down at the floor, the weight of everything settling on her, then said quietly, "He never slipped, not once." Ryan looked at her. She closed her eyes, brows pinched. "Not with me. He loved me, or pretended to." Her voice cracked, just barely. 3 years, and I never saw any of this coming. She looked up at Ryan. How do you forgive yourself for not seeing it? His answer came without hesitation. You don't need to. His eyes met hers. Being honest doesn't make you stupid. It makes him a monster. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was an agreement. Alex nodded just once, and that was enough. If you're planning to destroy him, Ryan said, tossing the rag into a bin, I'm in. Later in the week, their first real planning session happened in a 24-hour diner 1 town over, the kind with flickering neon signs and cracked leather booths. Alex ordered pancakes, even though she wasn't hungry. Ryan drank his coffee black and silently. They spoke in low voices at first, discussing timelines, logistics, and risks, the kind of conversation that felt more like planning a war than planning a party. Eventually, the words dried up. The clink of silverware and the distant hum of an old jukebox filled the space between them. Then, without a word, Ryan slid a manila envelope across the table. Just the quiet scrape of paper on formica and the weight of whatever it held. Alex stared at it. Her hands stayed in her lap. She didn't reach for it. Not yet. "What's in it?" she asked, already bracing herself. Ryan didn't look up. "Photos of Derek and my ex-fiancé from 4 years ago." Alex blinked, thrown for a second. He continued, voice flat. "I came home early, found them in my bed. I didn't say anything, just picked up my phone and took the pictures. I think I wanted him to flinch. He didn't." The envelope sat between them like a loaded weapon. Alex reached out slowly and pulled it toward her. Her fingers shook just a little, enough to make her angry at herself. She opened it. One photo, then another. Not Samantha, but it didn't matter. There was Derek. Bare skin, lazy grin, arms slung around a woman who wasn't his, and that look on his face, that smug, hollow calm. It was the same look he wore every time she caught him in a lie. She closed the envelope and set it down as if it had burned her. A long silence passed. Then, in a voice barely louder than a whisper, "Thank you." Ryan looked up. "He's not invincible, Alex," he said. "You're smarter than him, and now you have proof." Alex nodded but didn't speak. She gripped her napkin in her lap until her knuckles turned white. The knot in her chest didn't dissolve. It just hardened into something solid. They kept meeting, planning, and somewhere in those late-night coffees and shared silences, a strange comfort grew. They didn't flirt, not exactly, but how he listened, how he would know when to crack a joke or let her talk, it made the sharp ache in her chest dull a little. Then one night they were sitting in his truck outside a wedding venue that Alex was supposed to tour the next day. She was ranting about flower arrangements and budgets when he looked at her and said, "You don't deserve what he did to you. And when this is over, I hope you don't let it define you." Alex blinked back unexpected tears. "Thank you. I needed to hear that." He looked away and started the engine. "Derek doesn't know what he's lost," he said under his breath. The plan was ready a couple of months after that. The wedding was happening, a day Derek would never forget, and by the time it was over, neither would anyone else. They had rehearsed every detail and gone over every failsafe. Now all that remained was the waiting. And in that waiting, the quiet moments found her, moments when the noise fell away and only the wait remained. Alex sat at the kitchen table, the overhead light casting soft shadows on the wood. The manila envelope lay beside her, its corner slightly bent from where she'd gripped it too tightly earlier. She hadn't opened it again, not yet, but its presence filled the room with a quiet, almost suffocating tension. Her eyes drifted to the chipped pastel mug in her hand, a birthday gift from Sam from years ago, back when the laughs were easy and the secrets were still buried. The mug had survived time and too many reckless girls' nights. Now it just felt heavy in her hands. She glanced around. On the back of one of the chairs hung a cardigan, Sam's, borrowed, never returned. The soft blue knit still carried a faint trace of her perfume. Alex hadn't even realised she still had it. Her gaze moved to the bookshelf. A framed photo sat nestled between 2 books. Her and Sam at graduation, arms looped, sun in their eyes, youth on their faces. Sam was grinning widely, full of confidence. Alex looked bright-eyed, trusting. She exhaled sharply. The ache in her chest tightened. Tears slipped down, silent and without warning. She closed her eyes and drew in a shaky breath, willing herself to stay focused. But the stillness of the kitchen only made her thoughts grow louder. Maybe the betrayal hadn't started with Derek. Maybe it had been building for years, layered under compliments that cut and advice laced with envy. Maybe she just hadn't wanted to see it. The kettle on the stove erupted into a shrill whistle, ripping her from her thoughts. She stood quickly to stop it, her movements robotic. As she moved to the window, staring out into the darkness, her grip tightened around the mug, trying to anchor herself. And as the apartment settled back into heavy stillness, a single thought rose. Maybe some friendships don't end. They rot. But time didn't stop because everything else was falling apart. Plans moved forward. Dresses needed fitting. And Alex? She still had a role to play. The boutique glowed with soft golden light, filtering through sheer curtains that swayed in the afternoon breeze. Crystal chandeliers shimmered overhead, casting delicate patterns across the floor. Laughter rang out from a nearby fitting room as a gentle piano cover of "Can't Help Falling in Love" drifted throughout the space. It was a sanctuary built for fairy tales, a haven of joy and happily ever afters. Alex stood on a pedestal in front of the mirror, wrapped in a breathtaking white gown. The fabric hugged her curves in all the right places, with delicate lace trimming the sleeves and the skirt pooling gracefully around her feet. She looked like a bride, but felt like an imposter, a mere shadow donning someone else's moment of happiness. Nearby, Sam lounged on a love seat, scrolling through her phone with casual grace, one leg draped over the other. She looked up, tilted her head with an amused smile, and broke the silence. "Well," she remarked, rising gracefully, "this one at least does something for your waist. The last one made you look boxy."
An uneasy laugh escaped Alex's lips.
Thanks, I think.
Sam glided behind her, adjusting the veil with a dramatic flourish.
"You know, I always thought I'd be the first one of us to get married," she said with a casual air. "Not that I'm in a rush or anything. I'm just surprised." Alex stiffened. "Surprised?" "Yeah," Sam replied, stepping around to meet her gaze. "I mean, you used to say you didn't believe in all this, the whole forever idea. Remember freshman year? You insisted love was just biology and fairy tales." A faint smile flickered on Alex's lips as she recalled those naive conversations. Echoes from a distant past that only emphasized how different she was. "People change," she replied, the weight of her words heavy in the air. Sam's smile faltered, lacking the warmth it once held. "They do, or they settle." The sting of the comment was palpable between them. The bridal assistant re-entered the room briefly, her arms overflowing with various veils that seemed to catch the light like silken ghosts. "Just a few more options," she chirped happily before vanishing again. Sam picked up a long satin veil, holding it up with a dramatic flourish. "This one's stunning, like a queen." With a playful smirk, she draped it over Alex's shoulders.
"It's wild, isn't it? You've come a long way, from baggy hoodies and ramen noodles to Vera Wang and brunches with wedding planners."
Alex let out a tight laugh. "Yeah, wild." "You should thank me," Sam said, her tone bright and teasing. "I kept you from turning into a complete lost cause." Slowly, Alex turned to face her, the mood shifting. There was a moment of silence between them, quiet yet charged with unspoken feelings. "I didn't realize I was that close to being one," Alex replied, her voice steady but tinged with ice. Sam's gaze flickered to the mirror, then back to Alex, uncertainty flashing in her eyes. "Now, come on, you know I don't mean it like that." Alex nodded, but an unsettling shift occurred behind her expression. She walked back to the mirror, adjusting the gown with a sense of urgency, trying to maintain her composure amidst the whirlwind of emotions. Sam sank back into the love seat, tugging anxiously at a loose thread on her blouse. "Derek's lucky, though," she added almost absently. "You've really blossomed into yourself." Alex stared into her reflection, searching for the bride she was pretending to be. It should have felt like a heartfelt compliment. Instead, it felt like a post-mortem of her past. She glanced around the room, taking in the veil, the stunning dress, and the glittering ring. Her eyes were drawn to Sam, who watched her with the quiet pride of a craftsman admiring their finest work. Only now the realization began to dawn on Alex. This had never been just friendship. Not really. There had always been an underlying power dynamic. Sam had been the sun, radiating warmth and light, while Alex had simply been a fortunate moon, basking in her glow. "Do you like the dress?" Sam finally asked, resting her chin on her hand, her expression curious yet contemplative. Alex hesitated. She met her friend's gaze in the mirror, the weight of her thoughts hanging heavy in the air around her, and then, looking back at her reflection, she smiled. "It's perfect," she said, but this time it wasn't the dress she was talking about. It was the knowledge that, for once, she was the one holding all the cards. The last fitting was done. Now all that was left was the performance. The ceremony hall gleamed with soft elegance. White rose petals scattered along the aisle, gold-rimmed chairs arranged in perfect rows, and soft string music floating beneath the murmur of guests taking their seats. A screen at the front of the room looped a curated slideshow of the happy couple. Smiling pictures of Derek and Alex flashed every few seconds, beach selfies, clinking wine glasses, laughing candid shots that looked natural enough to mask the effort behind them. Guests smiled politely, whispering about how beautiful it all was. Derek stood near the altar, hands clasped behind his back, dressed in a sharp black tux with a crisp white pocket square. He wore the expression of a man who believed he had won, calm, in control. He glanced at the screen and smirked at a photo of him kissing Alex's cheek, her smile bright, her eyes glowing with love. "Ready for this?" one of his groomsmen asked, adjusting his boutonniere. Derek didn't look away from the screen. "More than ready," he murmured. Back in the audience, conversations floated between rows like silk. "She looks so stunning in that photo. I heard the venue booked out a year in advance. They're a beautiful couple, aren't they?" No one noticed the subtle tension in the air. Not yet. Just the hum of anticipation that comes with the beginning of something big. And backstage, a different kind of preparation was unfolding. In the bridal suite, the scent of peonies lingered in the air, mingling with the faint trace of perfume Alex barely remembered applying. Light filtered through the sheer curtains, casting soft patterns across the pale carpet. Her dress hung beside the door, lace and silk, the kind of gown that made people believe in fairy tales. Alex sat at the vanity, looking at her reflection, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Everything about her was perfect. Her hair was swept into a loose updo, a few soft curls falling just right around her face. Her makeup was subtle, romantic, and effortless. She looked exactly how a bride was meant to look, except for her eyes. They were still, unwavering. On the vanity beside the bouquet, almost hidden in the clutter of pins and perfume, sat a small black flash drive. It looked ordinary, forgettable, and yet it held the weight of a wrecking ball. Alex stared at it in silence, then reached out, brushing her thumb along the edge. Her vows were still tucked beneath it, a neatly folded page of loving words that now rang hollow, beautiful but empty. A knock at the door cut through her thoughts. "Come in," she said, not turning from the mirror. Ryan stepped inside, quiet as ever. He wore a fitted dark suit without a tie. His hair was slightly mussed, like he'd run his hands through it too many times. He closed the door behind him without a word, just stood there for a moment, studying her. She picked up the flash drive and crossed the room, the soft rustle of her robe the only sound between them. She pressed the drive into his hand. "It's ready," she said. "Start it when I begin the speech." He looked down at it, then back at her, his expression masked. "Last chance to change your mind," he said softly. Alex exhaled. It wasn't quite a laugh, more a breath she'd been holding too long. "That decision was made for me a long time ago," she said. "This is just the part where I stop pretending." He nodded, slow and thoughtful, slipping a flash drive into the inside pocket of his jacket. His gaze lingered on her a moment longer. "You look—" He hesitated, then gave a small smile. "Ready." That earned a faint smile from her in return. Not wide, not bright, but real. "Good," she said. "I need to be." He didn't argue, just stepped back toward the door. "I'll be in position." Alex gave a short nod and watched him leave. When the door clicked shut behind him, she turned back to the mirror and took a long, steady breath. Then she crossed the room, her fingertips grazing the gown's delicate folds, before gathering it into her arms. It felt heavier than it had earlier, weighted by everything she'd set in motion. Alex stood by the mirror, veil already pinned, bouquet resting in her hands. She looked composed, statuesque in her determination. Another knock at the door. She didn't move. "Come in." It opened with a soft click. Sam stepped in, radiant in a pale blush dress, her hair swept into a loose knot that had taken 2 stylists and a full hour to perfect. Her smile was wide. "Well, look at you," she said, closing the door behind her. "You're practically glowing." Alex's gaze held steady in the mirror. "So they tell me." Sam moved further into the room, her heels muffled by the thick carpet. She pretended to fuss with the hem of her dress, fingers smoothing fabric that wasn't wrinkled. "Nervous?" she asked. "You should be. It's a lot to handle for someone like you. Just remember to breathe and try not to fall apart." Her tone was light, but beneath it, something clanged. Alex turned just slightly, enough to meet her friend's eyes in the mirror. "I'm not nervous," she said. "Not anymore." Sam's smile flickered, barely. "Good," she said. "Wouldn't want you messing it up at the finish line." Alex shifted her bouquet. Her reflection stared back, calm and unshaken. "I won't," she said softly. Sam blinked once, then gave a short laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "God, you're calm," she said. "I'd be a wreck." Alex tilted her head, almost thoughtfully. "Maybe you should be." Silence fell between them. Then a knock at the door broke it. "5 minutes," someone called through the wood. Sam clapped her hands together once, smiling just a little too brightly. "Showtime." Sam turned to leave. Alex followed. Her father used to say, "Keep your eye on your target," and right now that target was walking 10 steps ahead in 4-inch heels and a backless dress, still thinking she was untouchable. Alex's grip tightened on the bouquet in her hand. No more pretending, no more playing nice. All she needed was timing, and hers was going to be perfect. The music swelled softly as the last few guests found their seats, a gentle hush falling over the room. Everything gleamed, white rose petals scattered with careful precision, tall arrangements of peonies flanking the aisle, gold-rimmed chairs catching the light. At the front, Derek stood with his hands loosely clasped, jaw tight beneath a confident smile. His tuxedo was sharp, tailored, the kind worn by men who believed the world would always bend to their will. Beside him, the officiant made quiet conversation, but Derek barely listened. His eyes flicked occasionally to the back, waiting. Then the doors opened. Sam emerged first. She wore a blush silk gown that clung to her frame, the backless design dipping low between her shoulder blades. Her heels clicked softly on the aisle runner. She held her bouquet with both hands, her expression poised and pleasant. Each step was measured, elegant, and composed. Guests turned to watch her, some raising their phones, others leaning in to whisper. The perfect maid of honor, beautiful, composed, and glowing beneath the chandelier light. Sam reached the front, took her place to the side, and didn't look back. The music shifted. Then the doors opened a second time. The crowd stood in anticipation, and Alex stepped into view. The murmurs quieted. She stood alone in the entryway, a vision in ivory lace. Her gown trailed softly behind her, a bouquet cradled gently in her hands. Light caught the edges of her veil, casting a soft shimmer around her. But it was her eyes that held the room, steady and focused. She moved forward, each step unhurried, deliberate. Her gaze didn't stray, not to the guests, not to Derek, not even to Sam, only forward. Alex reached the altar. Derek extended his hands, his smile smooth and certain. She placed hers in his, steady and sure. For a moment they stood as every couple did, ready to begin forever. Alex smiled at him, then turned to the crowd.
Before we begin, I'd like to say a few words.
A polite murmur passed through the guests. A few lifted their phones again.
I've spent a lot of time thinking about what today is supposed to mean, not just for me, but for all of you, for everyone who showed up to witness something sacred.
She glanced across the sea of faces, some smiling, some were already misty-eyed. Her voice stayed soft, controlled.
Weddings are built on stories. The story of how two people met, how they fell in love, and what they overcame to get here. It's supposed to be a day about joy, commitment and promises, but more than anything, it's supposed to be about trust.
She let that settle.
Because what is a marriage if not a vow to be honest, to be loyal, not just in public but in private, not just when it's easy, but when it matters most?
Her expression remained calm, unchanged.
I believed in that. I still do. That's why I wanted to speak from the heart today, because before I say any vows, there's something you should all see.
She turned slightly toward the screen. The final photo of her and Derek faded to black. A new image appeared. Derek and Sam were seated close to each other on a bench. Her hand rested on his thigh. Their smiles were soft, intimate. A few guests tilted their heads. Others frowned in confusion. Then another photo. A hotel bar, Sam in a red dress. Derek's arm draped around her waist, whispering in her ear. Then another, and another. With each new photo, the murmurs rose. A soft ding, then a dial tone rang out across the sea of growing voices. The room fell into a hush. Derek's voice rang out across the now silent church.
She thinks I'm in this for love. Can you believe that? She's always been desperate. You just had to smile at her and she fell for it. Good thing she's useful, for now. Once the paperwork's done, I'll have full access to her business, her money, everything. And then what? You'll divorce her? Nah, I'll keep her around. Just long enough to make sure she signs everything over. Then maybe we leave her a nice little gift. A broken heart and a ruined bank account? She should be grateful. She's never going to do better than me. The next call clicked on without pause. She's been acting weird lately. Do you think she suspects something? She's too stupid. She's planning centerpieces and picking out tablecloths, but she has no idea.
A chair scraped back. Someone gasped. Another guest stood up, face twisted in disbelief. A murmur rippled through the crowd, swelling into full-blown commotion. Derek stepped forward, eyes wide. "Alex, what the hell is this?" She didn't look at him. "I trusted you!" a woman from the third row shouted. Derek's cousin, maybe. A man near the back stood with his phone held high, already filming. Sam's voice broke through from the front row. "Alex, this is crazy. This doesn't prove anything." Alex turned, slowly. Her expression was unreadable. "Is that your defense?" she said calmly. "Because there's more." The screen behind her blinked again, a new video. This time it wasn't Derek or Sam speaking, it was Alex. A recording, clear and steady, from a hidden mic. Alex, days before the wedding, sitting in a cafe across from a lawyer. "I want to ensure that no matter what happens, he can't touch the company. I want full protection and a contingency clause. If he attempts anything, he loses everything." Derek's face went pale. Guests began shouting over one another, some at Derek, some at Sam. Someone flung a program. A chair hit the floor. One of Sam's heels snapped as she tried to storm out, and she stumbled. The officiant backed away from the altar like he wanted no part in this mess. But Alex just stood there, still, composed. "I'd like to thank you all for coming," she said, raising her voice slightly above the chaos. "I know you expected a wedding." She took a single step back, placing the bouquet gently on the altar. "But what you got was the truth." She turned to leave, calm, collected. Derek lunged. "Don't you walk away from me!" His hand shot out, rage contorting his face, but he didn't make it far. Ryan was faster. Out of nowhere, he stepped between them, grabbing Derek mid-swing and slamming him back into the altar with a force that rattled the wood. Guests screamed, chairs scraped back, someone shouted for security. Derek flailed, shouting obscenities, but Ryan held him firm. "You lay a finger on her, and I'll break more than your pride," he said, voice low and sharp in Derek's ear. Alex didn't flinch. She didn't turn back, didn't speak. She just kept walking, straight down the aisle, past the gasping guests and crumpled programs, through the same doors she'd entered with grace. And this time, she didn't stop. Guests spilled out into the sunlight in scattered groups, some chatting animatedly, others still visibly stunned. Sam stood off to the side near a row of manicured hedges, her phone clenched in her hand. Her fingers trembled with rage as she failed to unlock the screen. Her blush gown, once picture-perfect, was now wrinkled, the hem catching in the grass, and one broken heel dangling awkwardly from her foot. Her eyes darted toward the doors as Alex appeared on the front steps. She looked like she wanted to scream.
"You think that was a brave stunt you pulled in there?"
Alex kept walking, didn't acknowledge her yet. Sam took a step forward, rage flaring.
"You humiliated yourself, not me. You just showed everyone how pathetic you are."
Still Alex didn't flinch. She paused halfway to the car, then turned. "No, Sam. I showed them who you really are." Her voice was even, flat, the kind that left no room for argument. Sam's mouth opened like she had something more to say, but nothing came out. Alex took a few slow steps closer. "You needed someone to orbit you. Someone quieter. Easier. You thought that person was always going to be me." Sam shifted her weight, winced slightly from the broken heel. Alex's gaze didn't soften. "I was loyal. I was kind, and you mistook that for weakness. You were wrong."
The air between them crackled. "All this time I thought you were standing beside me. Turns out you were just waiting to take my place." Then she turned to enter the car, but before she did, she nodded toward Sam's heel. "You should get that fixed." And just like that, Alex was gone into the cool interior of the car. Sam didn't move. She just stood there, broken heel sinking into the grass, screen still locked in her hand.
Back inside, Derek stood near the altar, tie loosened, eyes glassy with disbelief. A few guests lingered in awkward clusters, whispering and scrolling. Someone had already uploaded the video. A staff member approached to guide him toward the back exit, but he jerked away.
"This is a setup," he muttered. "She's twisting everything. She spliced the recordings. It's fake."
But the voice in the audio was unmistakably his. The smirk, the condescension, the venom in every word. She has no idea what's coming. His parents stood several rows back, faces like statues. The groomsmen avoided his gaze. Even Sam's chair sat empty. Ryan stepped into the aisle, calm, grounded. Derek's eyes sharpened.
"You," he hissed. "You think you're some kind of hero. You think she won because she walked out."
Ryan didn't blink. No, she won because she walked away. Derek surged forward, but two staffers caught him at the shoulders. Phones lifted, cameras clicked. He thrashed once, face reddening.
"You think this is over?"
His voice cracked.
"I've buried worse, walked away clean from worse than her."
But before he could spit another word, a new voice cut through the tension. "Derek Langston." Everyone turned. A plainclothes officer stepped forward, badge lifted. Another trailed behind him, unfolding a thin slip of paper. "You're under arrest for failing to appear in court on charges stemming from an open investigation that began 4 years ago. Fraud, wire transfer misconduct. Your warrant's been active ever since." Derek froze. "No," he said flatly. "No, that was dismissed. It wasn't," the officer said, slipping cuffs around his wrists. "You just got lucky. Until now." The weight of it all landed at once. His shoulders slumped, and for the first time, his charm cracked. No lies left to spin, no audience left to fool. As they led him down the aisle, the guests stepped back, quiet, watching. Ryan turned away. Outside, Alex was already gone, and Derek? Derek was finally exactly where he belonged.
2 months later, Alex sat in the window of a quiet cafe tucked into a leafy side street, a steaming cup of tea between her hands and a sketchbook open in front of her. The launch date for her company had been pushed forward. Her inbox was full of interest: investors, artists, journalists. Alex watched as a couple passed by, hand in hand, laughing. A few months ago, that image might have pierced something inside her. Now, it simply passed through her, noticed but no longer painful. There was still healing ahead, still trust to rebuild. But that choice to keep going echoed in every new page, every plan, every quiet moment she allowed herself to simply exist. For the first time in a long time, she didn't just believe in the future, she was building it. Across from her, Ryan leaned back in his chair, sipping his coffee. He looked more relaxed these days, less guarded. He still wore oil-smudged shirts and had a habit of cracking his knuckles when he thought too hard, but there was a softness in his eyes when he looked at her. "How's the branding redesign coming?" he asked. Alex smiled, flipping the sketchbook around to show him. "I think it's finally right." He studied it for a moment, then nodded. "You did this?" "We did this," she said. Outside, the afternoon sun filtered through the trees, casting a golden and warm glow. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like the future was hers again.